Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living right here in beautiful Fullerton, California. Thank you all for joining us here today in person and also online. My name is Tomoka Rosas and I'm a practitioner here at the center. Please join me in stating our purpose statement. We are a loving spiritual community, empowering all to live healthy and successful lives through practicing the principles of science and mind. Before we get started, I have a few announcements, and I'm sure everybody's waiting to hear about this. Thank you everyone for your participation in our biggest fundraiser for the year, Sizzling Summer Raffle and Potluck, last Sunday. Together, we raised $1,465. Just a side note, Selma's team still holds the record at $1,890, and that was back in 2011. So it doesn't count if it's over 10 years. But Selma's team has the record. For the holidays are almost upon us, right? You a crafter, artisan, jeweler, an artist? Do you have any items you'd like to display here and consign with us with the bookstore? If you do, please talk to me after service or give me a call at the office. And the details will be kind of hammered out and it'll be in the program next week. Okay, we're getting ready for our fall newsletter. And if you have a story to share, please write it down or type it up, put it in the email body, however, and submit it to the office, please. And I would love to have you included into the fall newsletter. Okay, just a sneak preview into October. We do have a bingo coming up. Yes, and it is a Halloween harvest theme, so costumes are optional, like we did last year. We had so much fun, and lunch and paint in November as well. So please mark your calendar. Wednesday Spiritual Growth Support Group is weekly at 1 p.m. And if you can join us, please join us. Unexpected Income Club is doing great, and it is inching up. And remember, our goal is to reach $25,000 by the end of the year. Thank you for listening, and I will pass it on to Jennifer.
I need to be still and let God love me. I need to be still and let God love me. When this old world starts to push and shove me, I need to be still and let God love me.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. As we go into service and invoke the Spirit of God, knowing that each one of you here are divinely loved and blessed. We know only perfect outcome when we turn within and ask for answers. This is the time that we thank all those who make this service possible, starting with all of you supporting us through your tithings, our workshops, donations. Look, we're still here. It's a big deal. I'll take this time also to thank those that we don't always see making the service possible. Tomoka, of course, running most everything. The bookstore, the grounds, the bookkeeping, and the Coffee Fellowship. Thank you for your long
dedication to making our after-church fellowship very, very special. Of course, the Divine Shoppers, our junior church teachers, the money counters, the treasury, our ushers and greeters, and tomorrow again, the welcoming table afterwards if you need to just find out who we are. And also my fellow practitioners, and last and not least is Reverend Dr. Bill Salisbury, who gives us a message that we think is just meant for us each Sunday. Dennis Merritt Jones, The Art of Being. And some of us met him long ago at a Silomar, but you know, this was a nice book, and I went through most of it yesterday. And this is chapter 27, Obstacles, a Matter of Perspective. And Webster's dictionary defines an obstacle as an obstruction that prevents a forward movement of a course of action. Do you ever feel restricted by an obstacle? Something that keeps you from moving forward with your life? Something that stands between you and what you define as a complete and whole life? Do you see the pathway, your life leading to a point at which you will one day arrive where all obstacles will disappear? If you do, you are in for one long pathway. I don't know of anyone who doesn't have obstacles of one kind or another in their life. As a matter of fact, my observation is that often those who appear to have the greatest challenges in life, with apparent obstacles far larger than ours, seem to see their own challenges not as obstacles, but rather as a growth opportunity, forward movement. Thomas Carlyle wrote, "The block of granite, which is an obstacle in the pathway of the weak, becomes a stepping stone in the pathway of the strong." So in other words, obstacles are a matter of perspective. Do you see yourself in the eyes of a victim or in the eyes of the victor? Either way, let's free ourselves from any illusions. We always have challenges. How we see them is our choice. I first met Joe LaSalle at our center when he was in his early 20s. Joe uses a wheelchair. He lost the use of both legs when he was a preteen due to his leg surgeries gone wrong. For years, it wasn't unusual to see Joe wheeling around town. He even entered special events and competitions for those with similar handicaps. In truth, Joe never saw himself as handicapped. He became known around town as Will and Wonder because his skills on the dance floor and a musician. He later became a professional personal trainer and now works with people throughout the city, helping to shape not only their bodies, but their attitudes. How does he get around today? He earned the money to buy a truck, which he had fitted with special equipment that allows him to control the foot pedals with his hands. It would have been very easy for Joe to perceive his circumstances as huge, granite-like obstacles. Instead, he moved into adulthood with a healthy attitude about his future. As a result of his choices, he has become a beacon of inspiration and encouragement for countless others. One of the greatest gifts Joe offers the world is visual proof that wholeness is not always a physical condition. It is our state of being. The next time you feel overwhelmed by the obstacles that lie between you and a happy and whole life, I invite you to think of Joe, Will and Wonder. In Zen, there's an old saying, "The obstacle is a path." Know that a whole and happy life is not free of obstacles. Quite the contrary, a whole and happy life is riddled with obstacles. They just become stepping stones that help lift you and your life to a new perspective. It is not what happens to us in life that shapes us. It is how we choose to respond with what happens to us. Victim or victor, the choice is ours. as long as we inhabit these garments of flesh and bone, and it is a choice we will have the opportunity to make many times over. It is all part of our journey along this wonderful pathway, becoming more of that which we have come to be. It's up to you, obstacles or opportunities. Let's take that into prayer. Always, love is a fulfilling of law, making all things possible. My Christ life is one with the Father. It is my individualized expression of the Spirit. It expresses all the love of God, all of the life of the one life, all the power of the infinite, and all the presence of the omnipresence. Therefore, the Christ within me at this very moment knows the answer to every obstacle, and itself the substance out of which comes the outpicturing of my every desire. All of my good is right here, right now, just waiting for me to accept it. I now realize that God is himself the substance of the fulfillment of all of my desires. So I cease searching on the outside for my good and direct all of my attention seeking the kingdom of God within me. I know that the Father, Mother, God knoweth my needs, and that even now all these things are being added unto me. The Christ within me is my fulfillment, and I am one with harmony and joy in every department of my life. And so it is.
Sometimes the mountain moves and is thrown into the sea. Sometimes the lightning strikes and a vision comes to me. Sometimes the waters parts and the path ahead is clear. Sometimes the angels sing and it's music to my ears. And sometimes it's more like a whisper, quiet and gentle, peaceful and still. And some questions rain down like thunder. Sometimes the answer is more like a whisper. Sometimes one candle burns and a light glows in the dark. Sometimes a flower blooms, bringing love into my heart. And sometimes it's more like a whisper, quiet and gentle, peaceful and still. And questions rain down like thunder. Sometimes the answer is more like a whisper. Spirit, help me listen whenever you speak. When the river runs wild or it's silent and deep. Oh, and Sometimes it's more like a whisper, quiet and gentle, peaceful and still. When questions rain down like thunder, sometimes the answer is more like a whisper. Sometimes the answer is more like a whisper.
That's Jennifer Hart, everybody. Come on, let's hear it. Make her happy she's here and not over at the sanctuary for spiritual living. Good to have you. Thank you so much. And good morning.
Good morning.
So, thinking about that, I love that song. When we hear the Word of God as a whisper, and we can, if we're quiet and paying attention, we call it intuition. Other times, well, God understands that to get our attention requires a knock upside the head. Wouldn't it be so much more fun to get the information we need, to get the feelings that we need by listening to the whisper, rather than kind of pushing it off and waiting for that 2x4? And likewise, it's kind of the same as when we talk to God. We can do it one of two ways. We can whisper to God, or we can be, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but there have been times when I had to literally scream, shout, "Oh my God, what's going on here? Help!" It's just that when we whisper that prayer, we need to do it with the same feeling and the same knowing, the same intuition, the same belief and faith as when one of those stumbling blocks has caused us a great deal of pain, and we cry out in that pain rather than have the opportunity to whisper our needs, wants, and desires. And as Debra was reading from Dennis Merritt Jones so nicely, these stumbling blocks, and let's be clear, we've all had our share of them. Sometimes we're pretty much convinced that we've had more than our share, that we've taken on someone else's stumbling blocks also. But the fact is, the way we respond to these stumbling blocks is what determines our amount of resilience. So if you've been reading the book, Ikigai, you know, we're going to talk about resilience today, and we're going to talk about Wabi-Sabi. That is not something that goes on sushi. But I want to begin with a question. What's wrong with perfect? I know what you're thinking. Well, it's perfect. Can't be anything wrong with it. What could be wrong with perfect? Well, here's the only thing that could be wrong with perfect. It isn't. When we're talking about life on this planet, in this universe, it is not. Now, if we would somehow be able to talk about life on this planet before the human race got here, then we could. Because this world is a perfect place. The universe is a perfect place. All the systems, all the little tiny microsystems, billions of them all over the planet, all function together. They're all interrelated. They all have their place. They all have their ikigai. They have their purpose, and they carry it out because they don't have any choice. That's how they were created. Problem is, along came, well, us, into a perfect world, and managed to somehow screw this up. Consequently, the world is perfect, but the way we interact with it, the way we relate to it, is not. And so often, what happens is perfect becomes the enemy of great. We've all been there. Oh, if I could just tweak this, if I could just tune it, if I could just do that, if I just done this differently, it'd be perfect. No, I gotta work on this one, it needed to be perfect. And all the while that we're fussing around with perfect, great, and excellence is getting ignored over here in the corner. We have great lives, we have excellent lives. But wait a minute, Bill. I've read The Science of Mind. I know what Ernest Holmes said. He said, perfect man, perfect world, perfect God. So why don't you run off somewhere and study up on this a little bit? Son of a gun. I have already. I would like to just remind us what Ernest Holmes really did say. Because he did say that. He did say that. But he said something in addition to that. He says, talking about that divine mind, that consciousness, that one power and presence that grounds all being, that is responsible for everything that ever happens, the only power there is, he said, this mind is eternal, therefore we are eternal. We'll come back to that in a bit. This mind is complete, therefore we are spiritually complete, though we do not appear to be so. This does not alter the fact that, keyword, potential man is just as perfect as is the inherent God. So, are we perfect? Potentially. Do we act like it? Well, maybe not always. Maybe we have those little slips, those little peccadillos that pop up once in a while. He also said this, the whole of spirit is potentially focused in our individual objective consciousness, but we have not yet evolved to a realization of this. Even some of us who think we have done all the reading, listened to all the lectures, taken all the classes, but life somehow isn't perfect for me yet. Duh. What else did he say? He said, the student of truth will maintain that he lives in a perfect universe and among people potentially perfect. We do live in a perfect universe, and we are potentially perfect. But sometimes, as Ralph Waldo Emerson told us, we just have to get our bloated selves out of the way and allow this that's easy for you to say, allow this perfection to come to the fore. Oh, I had one other thing. He said, with good-natured flexibility, free your thought from any sense of anxiety or strain, or indecision, or deep-seated worry and concern, knowing that you have only to keep your thoughts steady and clear, fixed upon the potential perfection of the universe in which we live. That's all we have to do. Simple. But somehow it ain't very easy. It's really simple, but it's not easy. That's all I want to talk about for Ernest Holmes right this minute. Oh, did everybody get one of these? Mine. I am at peace, even in the midst of chaos. No person, place, or thing has the power to upset me. And as long as I remember that, that's true. That's absolute. That can't even be disputed. Because as long as I am living from that inviolable spot within me, that divine spark, that place that cannot be attacked, cannot be put under siege, cannot even be mishandled by anything or anyone, as long as I'm dealing from that, that's a true statement. When I lose sight of that, yeah, sometimes I do. When I lose sight of that, all sorts of things can happen to me. So, let's talk about resilience, because it is resilient. And this is said in 100 ways, in every philosophy, every spirituality, every religion in the world, okay? It's not what happens to us that counts. It's what we do about it. It's how we handle it. It's how we respond to it. It's whether we let it, dare I say, kick our butts, or whether we don't. So, in the book Ikigai, which you've all read by now, he tells us that one thing that everyone with a clearly defined Ikigai has in common is that they pursue their passion no matter what. So we're passionate about something. We think it's the end-all, be-all of always. It's something that we're so into, that we're so devoted to, that we're so sure of, that that's where we're going to put all our attention. That's where our focus goes. That's our purpose. That's our Ikigai. And then all at once, something happens. And we say, well, damn, I guess that wasn't my purpose after all. I better choose a different one. No, 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 no. If it's our purpose, it's our purpose. And remember, in the course of our lifetime, we have lots of different purposes. Even at any given time, we might have lots of different purposes. Still, they all come under that one purpose. That one purpose is to live that divine life that we were created for, and that divine life that created us in the first place to do it. As long as we don't lose sight of that, and as long as we are dealing from that perspective, things are going to be great. Things are going to be, dare I say, perfect. Resilience is our ability to deal with setbacks. So they go on to talk about Siddhartha Gautama, see? The Buddha. How he lived the life of a prince in a palace with everything he could have, all the wealth there was at the time. And he left that behind and he went into a life of asceticism. Like we would say, abject poverty, okay, living with absolutely nothing. Kind of like, not too far distant either direction at the time, of the master teacher Jesus, and of lots and lots and lots of monks and saints and avatars that we hear about and that we read about. That's part of the perennial myth, okay? They have to experience that living with absolutely nothing. But guess what? The Buddha said, not for me, dude. I don't like either one of them. I don't like the filthy rich. I don't like the desperately poor. I want the middle ground. And sometimes we get a little conflicted when we talk about spirituality, thinking that spirituality doesn't include, or maybe even excludes, wealth, prosperity. No, 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 no. He's shown us no. We should have all of that we want. That's our divine right. We weren't put here to live miserable, impoverished lives. We were put here to live to the fullest extent of everything this world has to offer. It's the gift. The gift was given totally, completely, in its entirety. The question is, have we received it? Have we accepted it? Have we recognized it and said, hey, Also, they talk in here about the old ancient great philosopher Zeno, who was studying with the Cynics. And he decided the same thing. They both decided the same thing. This isn't for me. That's not to say it isn't for somebody, because these schools of philosophy didn't flourish because nobody was interested in them. Nobody wanted to try them. Nobody enjoyed them. But they both came to this conclusion. The goal is not to eliminate all feelings and pleasures, because they said that some of these philosophies focus on there's nothing wrong with enjoying life's pleasures. As long as we don't, here's the famous tagline from Buddhism, as long as we don't get attached to them. Because we have to understand that nothing in this world is going to last. Nothing, as much as we'd love for it to. Then he said, our pleasures and desires are not the problem. We can enjoy them as long as they don't take control of us. And of course, they viewed people who could handle having nice things and having good things as being virtuous. Okay? Being poor isn't virtuous. Being run down isn't virtuous. Yeah. We always fall back on this old song. Well, it must be God's will. Nonsense. God's will was never for us to be anything except the best that we can be. God's will was never anything except for us to enjoy life to the fullest. The only way we can do that is if we live it to the fullest. And the only way we can do that is if we're living it right here, right now. So while we're seeking perfection in another world, excellence is swimming all around us, saying, pick me, pick me. Enjoy life. So, let's get to Wabi-Sabi, shall we, Debra? Wabi-Sabi. Well, let's see what it is. Because we're going to talk about both Wabi-Sabi and this thing called Ichigo Ichi. We're going to talk about a couple other concepts too. As long as I don't go on too long here. Wabi-Sabi is a Japanese concept that shows us the beauty of the fleeting or changeable and imperfect nature of the world around us. Instead of searching for beauty and perfection, we should look for it in things that are flawed and complete. So the little old Japanese grandma drops the teacup and it breaks. So like the rest of us, she just gets a little whisk broom, puts it in the dustpan, tosses it. Yeah? Bzzz, wrong. No. She gathers those pieces, and do you know what they glue them together with, what they cement them together with? Is liquid gold. How subtle is that? So you see an article that's got all these little gold lines written, put in it because you can't hide them, and that is, rather than trying to pretend that it is perfect, which it might have seemed in the first place, according to the way we use that word. Okay, we talk about things being perfect in the world. Well, nonsense. But it might have seemed to be perfect if you put something on there that we couldn't see the repair. But they want to put something on there that demonstrates the fact that it's been repaired. Because that teacup, like us, is not getting through its entire existence without having some little flaw in it, some little break in it, some little crack in it. How many of us get to where we are without having some little flaw, some little dent, some little crack? Not very many, I dare say. Anyway, we need to learn to look for that kind of beauty. Because we look at things and we say, oh, isn't that I mean, Christmas is coming up, right? Isn't that a gorgeous tree? Wouldn't that be great for our tree for Christmas? Yeah, if it just had another branch here, or if it maybe was a little bit more symmetrical over here. Hello? It's an excellent tree. Let's take it for what it is. Let's just know that the beauty in it isn't changed because it's not as if somebody drew it with a set of tools, a set of architectural tools. So the concept that they have of itchy go itchy, itchy could be translated as this moment exists only now and won't come again. That's why we have to enjoy everything that we have to the utmost right now. We've talked about this before. You had the greatest time of your life in 1998 somewhere with somebody. So what are we going to do? I miss that feeling. You book a trip, you go back to the same place, you even take the same somebody, but it isn't the same. And it can't be the same. And here's an additional problem is, while we're there trying to make it the same, we miss the golden opportunity we have to be living in that moment, right there, with these people, and enjoying the moment, because we're so intent on bringing back the perfection of what we felt, and we don't even have to do that. One, we can't do that, but two, if we ever want that feeling, all we have to do is remember that time, and not, you don't have to remember what you had for lunch, or what you had for dinner, or what kind of little umbrella drink you had. All you have to remember is the feeling that it gave you, because that's how we live, by feeling. When we stop living by feeling, we kind of stop living. We stop getting any joy at all out of it. So, Wabi-Sabi is actually two words. It's hyphenated. And why is it a growth opportunity? Well, Wabi, to begin with, is that idea of finding beauty in imperfection, which we need to do because there's not much that's perfect out there for us to find the beauty in. And also, it makes us accept the natural cycle of life, and the way things are, the way things happen, the way things come about for us. And of course, going back to the resilience is how we handle those things that happen to us. So we need to understand that there's beauty in flawed things, and we need to understand that there's lots of flawed things in this world, and we need to still dig deep and find the beauty in it. It also reminds us that everything's impermanent. Everything's transient. So what we look upon as the perfect moment is going to bring us trouble, because that perfect moment's not going to last. Everything changes. Much as we'd love to hold on to it, and again, we don't need to hold on to it. All we need to hold on to is the feeling that we had. Because it's just the feeling of joy, the feeling of beauty, the feeling of love and happiness and community, the feeling of belonging is just that. It's a feeling. It's a feeling like anger and rage and hate and prejudice. Those are all feelings also. So when we're going to choose a feeling, why don't we choose on the side of beauty and joy and hope? Why wouldn't we do that? Sabi is that part about the passage of time. And the fact that everything is going to change, that everything has a cycle, and everything is going to decay. But we have to understand, when we understand the Wabi and the Sabi, then we're in a position to live the best life we possibly can. Because we're living for now, we're getting the joy out of every moment, and we know it's going to come to an end, but that's okay, because the feeling that we get from it is the feeling we can take with us forever and always, anywhere that we want to travel to. So together it's just that accept what is, stay in the present, and enjoy that. Because out of the acceptance of that comes the growth. The growth comes because understanding Wabi-Sabi gives us freedom. Freedom. Well, freedom from what? Freedom from being attached and freedom from having the suffering that goes along with that attachment. We have the freedom to live knowing that right here, right now is the only time we really have, and let's don't be fretting about the future. If we're sitting here saying to ourselves, this is so great, too bad it's going to have to end. When it ends, what am I going to do then? I'm not going to feel like this. I'm going to have to go do this. No. The idea is there's a temple in Japan that has, I don't even know what you call it, a big giant container, like I think we call it a big giant vase or something. I don't know what they call it. But the words, and of course they're in Japanese, the words that are inscribed on there's only 4 symbols, but translated into English, they say, I am content with what I have, to that effect. I think they might actually be something like, I only know contentment. Because until we get to that spot where we only know contentment, we're living in what philosophers, psychologists at least, some philosophers, call the arrival fallacy. The arrival fallacy. The way my mother used to say it was, well, when our ship comes in, okay? The arrival fallacy. When I just attain this, everything's going to be perfect. When I just get this, everything's going to be perfect. When I just know this, everything's going to be perfect. Is it ever perfect? For about that long. And then what? Then there's some other little bauble that catches our eye. A newer, sleeker version of what, if I had, I'd be perfect, comes along. And consequently, we can't ever get to the end of it. It's the arrival fallacy. That never comes. The only thing that comes is right here, right now. And the only power that we have is to draw upon that power of that one mind, that consciousness, that spiritual thing that we call God, that one power and presence. We draw upon that and we use it to live our daily lives, because there are no other lives we can live. We don't live yesterday, we don't live tomorrow. We can only live right now, daily, every minute of every day, and as long as we're paying attention to it, recognizing our purpose and following that, that's where things are going to work out for us. That's when things will be perfect. So, let's just know that when I am content with what I have, I'm happy. When I let go of suffering, I'm happy. When I have a feeling of joy and I recognize beauty and I experience a sense of community that we've been talking about all month, I'm happy. And I was put here to be happy. I wasn't put here to be in misery. I wasn't put here to be not enough. I wasn't put here to not have enough. I wasn't put here to be a tool for somebody else. I was put here to shine in my own radiant divinity and to allow that to pass out into the world and let that radiation of divinity be the tool that others can use. So as long as I have a purpose to fulfill myself and to help others fulfill themselves, I'm living my ikigai. And just knowing that this is possible and knowing that this is the case, it just fills my heart with gratitude. And with that heart full of gratitude, I say, thank you, God. Thank you for this. And I just let this word be, knowing that it is so, and so it is. let's just know that this is our opportunity to share our abundance. We know that all of our good comes from that one source, God, and for this we are eternally grateful. And let me just take a second to say thank you for this support, because it is that sustains this Fullerton Center for Spiritual Living. And for those of you who are not in the sanctuary yet, but watching from afar, thank you also. We know that hitting that donate button or mailing in or coming by and seeing Tomoko during the week is a great thing to have happen. So thank you very much.
Don't put your limits on my God. Don't tell me what I must believe. If God's going to do his work, he must be free. Don't put him in a little box and say you must be orthodox. For the love of God's unlimited to me. Since the beginning of creation, man's been worshiping his gods in the hills and on the plains and by the sea. He's made rules and regulations that have passed through generations on the way to worship God properly. Don't put your limits on my God. Don't tell me what I must believe. If God's going to do her work, she must be free. Don't put her in a little box and say you must be orthodox. For the love of God's unlimited to me. There are rules for how to pray and rituals for every day that teach us how to love our spirit God. But what is even stranger, there really is a danger that we're worshiping the rules instead of God. So don't put your limits on my God. Don't tell me what I must believe. If God's going to do his work, she must be free. Don't put her in a little box and say you must be orthodox. For the love of God's unlimited to me. Unlimited, uninhibited. He's high in the sky as well as deep inside of me. He's the universal principle of love through eternity.
Jennifer Hart, come on, let's hear it. She put us in the mood to begin with, and now she's got us in that celebration mood. And let's just know something together. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It's this thing called life.
It's this thing called life.
It's my ikigai.
It's my ikigai.
It's my purpose.
It's my purpose.
It's my fondest desire.
It's my fondest desire.
It is joy, beauty, and happiness.